This is your invitation to Eureka Springs, if you don't already live here, to come and experience something you may have dreamed about or maybe never even imagined. But would you like to be in on creating a school, a new school, a school of the Spirit, a school of the transcendent, a school of light, love, and peace, a school that turns learning inside out, where the teacher is within you, and you learn to listen and be taught and interact with the words of the teacher that come into your mind softly, tenderly. Are you willing to learn a new paradigm of education? Are you willing to experience creating a new you in a new school that you help to create in so doing? The school of the 21st century Christ, where we begin to realize and allow ourselves to be taught that Christ is within, Christ within is you, that your very life force is the life of Christ, a Christ, not the way Christianity defines it, for they want to segment, separate, isolate, set aside, call someone special, and worship him. I submit to you, I offer you the learning that I've experienced over a number of years channeling words directly from God, whatever your name for God. Allah, Christ, Jesus, Source, your special guide, you're this, that, or the other. That I began to know after years of surrender and thousands of hours in solitude, searching and surrendering. And I began to experience, pardon me, this learning, this education, a paradigm of education that beats the heck out of line by line, precept by precept. This is download by download. Yay, O Neo. Trinity. So this is your invitation to start a school, help start a school, be a part of the first class with a maximum of 10 people that operate without tuition required, but does require you to share with each of your classmates in a way that would maybe be considered cheating and prohibitive in a normal, present-day, accredited school. This is about working together. This is about each one helping each one. This is about the synergy that comes together in an accelerated learning process where you learn to surrender to you, to hear you, to write you, to speak you. And to facilitate that, God has given the first 2,400 messages that I was given to be the foundation for this school and the curriculum of it. Because within these 2,400 messages, is more variety and a breadth and a spectrum, not of doctrine, but of information, data about the origin of the universe, about your creation, about you creating you, about how you become a new creation now, and how you can stream the consciousness of Christ to be one with it, that you were all the time before you isolated and decided to worship something else, or worship your ego, or decided you just spontaneously came into being from nothing, that love wasn't a part of your creation. Oh, I submit you are love in two shoes, with your name, your face. And what will you do with your hands, your time this day? So, I know my screen is way too little for you to read and really be able to capture, but my website is theodorcottingham.com. That's my name. I've been here in Eureka 4 years after spending some 40 years in Tulsa. It may be very difficult. It may be incomprehensible for you to think that God gave me thousands and thousands of messages in the first 2,400, in fact, form a curriculum for a school of higher learning, literally forming the University of the New Covenant, a university that has schools of various subjects even. Who is it that will not limit God this day? No matter your name for God, the great within, the great source, the great spirit, the still small voice, the wind. I know it might be challenging to think of the value, to think of what might actually be in the words I call database one. How that the diction and grammar changes quite a bit throughout these 2,400 messages. The subject matter is all over the spectrum and lays a groundwork for you to create you a new consciousness with it being the catalyst, the word living and dynamic, for you to come into it to allow your word to interact dynamically, one-on-one, you experiencing a curriculum tailored for you because your mind works a little differently than mine. You have different background experiences. So when you begin to go through the words of the curriculum that I've been given, database one, I call it just simply database one. I have many databases, but the first one is the foundation. So you can start reading at the first one. There are 7 volumes. 1.1.1 is lesson 1, volume 1, database 1. So that's how I have it. So what are you willing to learn? Can you imagine you writing day after day the first person words of God, the first person words of the great within? That's why this school exists, to loose your words within. So you begin to write that transform you, your consciousness of, for you to create a new life, a new you, in community with others in a new paradigm of education. Scot-free, tuition-free. So if you want to know how the school works, come to Eureka Springs. Have coffee with me. Let's talk about what's in your heart, what your potential is, that the message of Christ is to be the Christ, and it was never constrained to be the idea of one person exclusively. I submit to you that Jesus even called himself Son of Man, if in fact you want to accept that as accurate, in an effort to convey his common origin, his common man origin, so that the message that he portrayed, that he gave out, that he communicated was actually everything I did you can do. Everything I'm doing you can do. Be one with me, one with the Father. That should have been called the Mother, the one it. Let's not let labels defeat us. Let's open to the great within. If you come here to TheodoreCottingham.com, you can click on curriculum. And that gives you a couple background paragraphs which you can read in a little search box. And you can click on that search box and put in the terms. So you can type in teacher or 6 months and search on that. If you put in more than one word as a term to search on, both words, whatever your phrase is that you're searching on, must be in quotes. And it will bring up a list of all the documents, the lessons that contain that word or that word phrase. And then you just click on the number, lesson number, volume number, database number. You click on that reference number and it will open the PDF file. And then you can read it, you can download it, you can print it. But see, in the learning system of God that's tailored to you, that you allow to come forth individually and uniquely you, so that you tailor it the way your mind works and the way God works with you, in you, through you, to you, you through it. As you interact with these words that I've been given, that God has given me, as you read a certain lesson, you will find different terms, different sentences, different phrases that all of a sudden you may choose to search on. You search on that term and it takes you to a number of documents. You can scan through and all of a sudden you think, wow, wait a minute. What's this really saying? Is it saying what I think I'm saying? You click on it, you read, and it may take you somewhere else. So your learning system is divine. Your learning system is not driven by an external authority. Your learning system is dependent upon you, your motivation, the amount of time, surrender, devotion. This school is starting March 1st in Eureka Springs, unlike any other. At 12 noon in a coffee shop. We don't have any buildings, money, no backers. It would be great for you to contact me beforehand. And if you have questions, email them to me. Theodore Eureka at gmail.com. I am on Facebook as well. And I have my website, theodorcottingham.com, which you can contact me through that site. I don't know how many may come or who may come, but I know God is doing a new thing. The operation of the new covenant is process. The operation of the new covenant is not static in a book. The operation of the new covenant is process dynamically through the great you. I love you and I value you, and I invite you to Eureka Springs. If not now, when? If not you, who? Who will do this? Who will do it? Who is willing to drop what they're doing and come to Eureka Springs to start a school unlike any other? What do you believe? Are you willing to let your belief system constrain you no more to operate in what's led you to today? Are you ready to go into orbit? So is there a capacity which you have that you've been giving away to another? I ask you to lead you in the authority of you. Stand up and be you. Women, men, not in a hierarchical sense. There's a revolution going on. A revelation of God, the revelation of the Christ being you, the common person, and that every person develops it through allowing the word flowing and dynamic to not only come into them, but to realize it was always there. You have access to it because it's you. You were never separate from God. You were never separate from the database of the genes of God. So this is an invitation to come to Eureka Springs. It's an invitation to communicate with me. It's an invitation to share these words. It's an invitation to get real with yourself and not limit you. Don't you draw a curtain between you and God. Please quit creating the gap between you and God. There's no mystery to God. The greatest delight God has is in what? You coming home? You coming to the within you? You coming back to the kingdom of God that resides in you and always has? That allowed you to create the mess you're in, or the mess that we're in, or what we call the molecular world? Maybe we're not limited to it. I suggest we're not. So the revelation of Christ is coming forth. And it's quite cataclysmic, I suggest. There's a new way to do things. Something new is being birthed. The school of the 21st Christ. For Christ to be here, here and now, waiting no more on someone to come. You're it. That's what the message was all the time. So if you're open to learning through a new paradigm of education that is spiritual, practical, connects you with knowledge all over the spectrum of what's already revealed and uses it, science, astronomy, physics, classical, quantum physics, and even connects you with movies. Oh, I've learned a great deal from movies. In these words, hundreds of movies are referenced that have served to expand my learning and understanding. So this is what I invite you to experience. This is why I invite you to Eureka Springs, a great place in Northwest Arkansas, 2 great lakes within 20 minutes, world-class bicycle trails, wonderful bed and breakfast, fantastic restaurants, and a number of lovely people. Some say this is a place of healing. I'm one of them. My name is Theodore Cottingham, and I love you this day. TheodoreCottingham.com. Come to Eureka Springs. Write your questions. Come visit. Come share. Come 3 or 4 days. Come March 1st. Come now. Come. Inquire. The opportunity is before you this day, and I bow. Namaste. Wait not. The time is now, if you so choose. I love you. Good day.